Welcome back. For today's video, I've got 5 polls that have come out over the past few days that are looking at the national landscape of the 2020 Democratic primary, so we can kind of benchmark where things currently stand before heading into the second round of debates. Now, after the first debates, which were actually over a month ago at this point, the biggest changes we saw was Joe Biden taking a step back, Kamala Harris taking a step forward. But in the weeks since then, Joe Biden has normalized a bit and actually has regained some of that support that he lost. And it's a situation where it just seems like the less people hear and see Joe Biden, the better he does in the polls. And this is a situation that he has to improve on if he's going to continue to be the front runner, which he currently is. No doubt about it. Every single poll that we see, Joe Biden is in first place, but he needs better answers to these questions when he's on the debate stage, when he's getting interviewed, when he's out there campaigning. He just needs to reduce the gaffes and have better answers to these tough questions if he's going to continue to stand atop the rest of the field as the front runner. We'll see what he does in the second round of debates. He's going to be on the same debate stage as Kamala Harris. Could be a tough situation for him. It was in the first round. We'll see if that is the case in these second debates that are coming up here over these next couple days. So starting off here with this week's morning consult, we have Joe Biden in first place at 33% support, followed by Bernie Sanders at 18%, Elizabeth Warren at 13%, and Kamala Harris at 12 percentage points. Everyone else is in the single digits, and basically poll after poll that we see, it's these 4 candidates that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack and are usually in that double digit of support, while everyone else is typically in the mid to lower single digits. So moving over and taking a look at the Quinnipiac poll that also just came out recently. This one, very positive for Joe Biden. He's here in first place at 34% support, followed by Senator Elizabeth Warren at 15%, 12% for Kamala Harris, and 11 percentage points for Bernie Sanders. And whenever I see these results where Bernie Sanders is in third or fourth place and in the low double digits, it kind of surprises me to some extent, and I feel like it could be a situation where the polls aren't properly reflecting the kind of grassroots support that these candidates have, and we'll see how that translates when we actually get to the caucuses and primaries and get the vote totals to come in to see how they compare to what the polls were saying, because there's no question that Bernie Sanders, without a doubt, has the strongest grassroots network of support in terms of individual donors. These are real people that are supporting his candidacy. They're more likely to try to get friends and family potentially to come out and support him, knock on doors, and have that network of small dollar donors to try to prop up his campaign and get more support and turnout for his candidacy. Now, you have to remember, in these primaries, you get much lower voter turnout than what you get in a general election. So if you have extremely strong grassroots support, which Sanders does, that can have a massive swing in the results. And I'm just going to be fascinated to see if that is the case or not, in contrast to what we're reading in the polls and what actually happens when people get around to the primary and caucus states and actually cast their vote. So I am a little bit skeptical when we see these very low numbers for Bernie Sanders, but again, we're just going to have to wait and see when the actual data comes in to see how accurate these polls were or not. So moving over to another poll that we have here. This one is from USC in the LA Times. In this one, we see a little bit lower numbers for the candidates, and that's because we have this question of undecided. Whenever you have that as an option, you're going to get lower numbers overall in general for the other candidates. So undecided was at 25% of people. And then in first place, we have Joe Biden at 28%, 11% for Bernie Sanders, 10% for Elizabeth Warren, 10% for Kamala Harris, 5% for Pete Buttigieg. And again, we have this situation where the top 4 candidates are all in double digits of support. Everyone else is in mid to lower single digits. And moving over to take a look at our fourth poll, this one is from Harris X and Rasmussen, where Joe Biden in first place at 32%. And this is another one of those polls where we have undecided as an option. We have Pete Buttigieg at 3%, Kamala Harris at 7%, Bernie Sanders at 15%, and not sure was at 14%. Let's see if I can find Elizabeth Warren here. There she is at 9 percentage points of support. So this is one of those polls where we have Biden in a strong first place, followed by Bernie Sanders, and then Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. And the last poll, the fifth one, is from Emerson, just came out this morning. And we see Bernie Sanders normalizing his numbers a bit, doing quite a bit better than the last Emerson poll that came out. We can get these fluctuations from Emerson because they have a relatively small sample size, but Sanders going back up to 20% behind Biden, who's at 33%, and then we have Elizabeth Warren at 14%, Kamala Harris at 11%, and if I remember correctly, the last Emerson poll, Sanders, Warren, and Harris were all tied at 15 percentage points, so definitely a little bit of a difference there. And again, when you have a margin of error plus minus of 4.2 percentage points and a sample size for a national poll of 520, you can get these fluctuations. Now, when we take a look, the big reason why Sanders has reestablished the fact that he's in second place in these Emerson polls is because in this one, amongst the young voters, 18 to 29, he's at 36% support, which is head and shoulders above the rest of the pack. And for whatever reason, in the last Emerson poll that came out, Biden actually had the lead amongst this demographic, which would be a surprise, to say the least, if that actually happened come primary and caucus days. Now, moving down and taking a look at the head-to-head matchups with Donald Trump from this national poll. And because you have Republicans, Independents, and Democrats all in this one, the sample size is a bit healthier at over 1,200. And you can see the only two candidates that are above Trump in that head-to-head are Biden and Sanders. They each have a 2 percentage point lead, while Warren is tied. Harris down by 4 percentage points, as well as Pete Buttigieg. So those are the 5 polls that I wanted to touch on as we get ready and head into the second round of debates. We're going to be getting a lot of polls out after these debates. We'll see how things change and swing around, if there's any big movements like we saw after those first debates. I'm really looking forward to seeing how all of this plays out. So thanks, guys, for stopping by. Consider subscribing for more, and I hope to see you guys back here for my next video.